The American dream is on the brink, and Idaho is at a crossroads. The current assault on common sense and our shared values is an old strategy to implement a dark agenda. I'm a first-generation American, and my family lived under and fled from communism in Europe. They saw socialists plunge their country into a civil war that wiped it from the map. Idaho is besieged by socialist schemes like critical race theory and cancel culture. Sadly, some of our state leaders have violated their solemn oath to uphold the U.S. and Idaho Constitution. Our businesses have been shut down based on a classification system designed by corporate lobbyists. Our universities have become training camps for socialist activists. Even our churches face the onerous onslaught of government overreach. The ruling class treats Idaho like a business for profit rather than a government for the people. In this country, there are counties that have larger populations than the entire state of Idaho. Yet our state government has 20 departments and 181 agencies. This massive bureaucracy takes our money and funnels it into special interest pet projects and to anti-American activists. The elitists running our state want you to believe that you need them and their experience. However, spending years perpetuating the status quo isn't acceptable anymore. Make no mistake, we are in a battle with good against evil, and Idaho is the last foxhole. But the story of America is one of underdogs and young patriots with a vision. The Declaration of Independence had 19 signers in their 20s and 30s, including its author, Thomas Jefferson. Generations have sacrificed to grant us the blessing to live in this land. And you can only honor sacrifice by offering it in return. My profound love for Idaho and for my children's future compels me to act, even if the cost is great. My wife, Holly, is pregnant with our second child. We have a home to maintain and bills to pay. But our family is putting it all on the line to take a stand. I am running for governor of Idaho. I believe that this is a time to lead with strength and purpose. I believe Idaho needs a leader that will stand firm for all of our God-given rights. I believe Idaho needs a leader that will say no to the federal government. I believe families in Idaho should be empowered to choose how and where their children get educated. And their tax dollars should follow their children to the school of their choice. And I believe we should keep more of our hard-earned money rather than the good old boys club taxing us and using it to advance their personal political agendas. Politics is a dirty job, but I know it's a necessary evil. This is the time to roll up our sleeves and get to work. I know the meaning of a hard day's work, and I've lived on both sides of the tracks. I grew up in poverty and have truly lived the American dream. As a young man, I worked on construction sites and later became a roughneck on drilling rigs for oil. I've been a financial advisor for families and small business owners in Idaho who entrusted me to wisely manage their life savings. But I've walked away from all of that to run for governor because I have a vision to forge a strong Idaho. I'm asking you to partner with me on this journey. Regular folks like us have to step up in ways we never have before. And in the course of that journey, take upon us that most honored title, Patriot. I'm Ed Humphreys. I'm running for governor of Idaho, and I'm asking for your support. The Republican Party will die out if we don't answer two things. What do we stand for? And what are we doing to educate and inspire the rising generation? This country was founded by young people. Young people with a dream, with a vision, right? We need to empower young people to question the world around them, not be molded into a way of thinking.
Today is the day we put aside to remember fallen heroes. It's a day of thanks for the valor of others. At the grave of a hero, we end not with sorrow at the inevitable loss, but with the contagion of his courage, and with a kind of desperate joy we go back to the fight. They chose to believe and answer the call of duty. That's all I wanted to say. The rest of my contribution is to leave this great place to its peace, a peace it has earned. Thank all of you, and God bless you, and have a day full of memories.
And one of the topics that you guys are being inundated with is the idea that America is inherently a racist nation. These ideas are not being marketed because they're compelling or convincing. They're being marketed because you paid for them to be marketed. How incredible is it that the American system could be subverted in a way where by you just living out your life and following the rules, that you would actually end up fueling something designed for the destruction of our shared values.
Before tonight, I had not heard of Ed Humphreys, but he came and spoke at our Central Committee meeting, and I am really excited. What a breath of fresh air. I was surprised to hear how young he was, but when he made the comparison to the age of the Founding Fathers, and many of them were in their 20s and 30s, his age didn't bother me. He seems very knowledgeable, and I loved what he had to say. I'm excited to see him as a candidate for governor of Idaho and hope to hear more from him.
Coeur d'Alene, does it look to you that we need to be in a state of emergency right now? Businesses are thriving, people are enjoying their lives, yet our government continues to mandate that we are in a state of emergency and take federal dollars to subjugate our agencies to the federal government. Join with me in saying enough is enough. It is time to end the state of emergency. Go to Ed for Idaho to learn more. How many more birthdays does America have left? Our great nation was forged with grit and resilience, founded on the principles of freedom and inalienable God-given rights. But remember, where we've been is just as important as where we're headed. The American dream will continue to live on if we commit to preserving it. So today, the 4th of July, celebrate our nation's history and our heritage. But it falls to us to secure our great nation's birthday for generations to come. Our freedom is facing a constant assault. Now it's our 1776 moment. It's not about political parties. It's about the fight for the soul of America. We're forgetting the legacy of America. We were forged in the crucible of adversity, and we are blessed with a deep-rooted love for liberty. Idaho will remind America what it means to be an American. It's time to lead with the same principles that made this the greatest nation on earth. Idaho needs school choice now. We need to empower families to choose how and where their children get educated, and their tax dollars should follow them to the school of their choice. As the public school system has become more controlled by the central planning of unions and bureaucrats, it has become less responsive to the voices of parents, students, and teachers. In the Founders' Blueprint, problems are solved by returning power to the people.
There you go. Okay.
We'll give it a minute. Let me hold that up. And we're going to block the sun from his face. So more people can hop on. Let's hear some noise.
Yeah. Woo!
There you go. How's that? Does that help?
Oh, there you go.
There you go. We're down here at the National Interagency Fire Center, NIFC. We have Joe Biden that's projected to come at 12:15, but our goal is to make sure that Air Force One does not touch down. Yeah! Joe Biden and his incompetence is not welcome in Idaho. We are sick and tired of these professional politicians destroying our country. Yeah! So if you support that, you need to be here. If you call yourself a patriot, which means that you love America and you would zealously defend it, you need to be here at the National Interagency Fire Center. You need to have your voice heard with all these other patriots. We hope to see you here soon. Come on down. Hey.
I was just in a neighboring state called Idaho. But the governor is complimentary of your governor, and that we had to have mandates for vaccinations. He's getting a little hell kicked out of his Republican college, I think. But that's what he's doing. So there's hope. There's hope. When I got elected, the 29-year-old senator was a Republican state. I don't know what the hell happened.
History will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. Alexander Hamilton said, "A nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a master and deserves one." Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war. But there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Now it's our 1776 moment. It's not about political parties. It's about the fight for the soul of America. Everywhere that is enacted, the defund the police agenda has seen the destruction of communities, families, and businesses. But not here in Idaho. In Idaho, we back the blue, and we're going to give law enforcement the tools and resources they need to be able to be tough on crime. Corruption and politics have gone hand in hand for a long time, but now's the time to drain the swamp here in Idaho. What we need is accountability in government. It's unacceptable for politicians to send your money to their favorite causes and activists. You see, it's artwork like this that taxpayers need to consider if they want to pay $24,000 of their hard-earned money for. We need to drain the swamp here in Idaho. No longer is it acceptable for politicians to pay their cronies with our tax dollars. Enough is enough. Republicans and Democrats alike are buying into socialist ideas like central planning. They now believe that subject matter experts are more qualified to make decisions, so the government enables them to make decisions for us. However, these so-called experts have a political agenda. Globalist groups like the World Economic Forum are now pushing to trade liberty for a little temporary safety. They are advocating for global socialism. Sadly, pursuing a little safety at all costs will force our children and grandchildren to pay a steep price. In the end, it will demand their greatest gift, freedom. This is our 1776 moment. It's not about political parties. It's about the fight for the soul of America. We gotta see how reckless refugee resettlement will destroy Idaho if left unchecked. Our current governor has taken in more refugees than 8 states combined. And now Idaho's the 3rd highest in refugee resettlement. If we stick with the status quo, it will destroy Idaho. We need a governor who will ban refugee resettlement. I've committed to doing just that. Merry Christmas. This year we have a conservative Christmas challenge. I have a supporter who will donate a total of $10,000 to a set of charities benefiting the homeless, our veterans, our law enforcement, if the lieutenant governor agrees to a live debate moderated by the Treasure Valley's very own Kevin Miller. So please tag the lieutenant governor, share this post, and also if you want to kick into the kitty and raise the stakes, send me an email and let me know. We would love nothing more than to see a live debate, because in all actuality, we have to whittle down the field. There has to be one candidate to challenge the Democrats that are going to enter the Republican primary to vote for Brad Little. We need debates, and this is a great way, a fun way to celebrate the Christmas season. With the announcement of the Debate for Charity Challenge, we went from $10,000 in the pot. Now we're up to $25,000 is on the line for charities here in Idaho if the lieutenant governor accepts a debate. Here's what's important. We need the opportunity to have the free exchange of ideas. Everybody knows if you don't whittle down the field and create a head-to-head race, that the current governor is much more likely to win if he's going to capture 40% of the vote. We can't allow him to capture 40% of the vote and be our governor again. And mind you, the Democrats are literally sending out a letter encouraging people to register as Republicans and vote in the Republican primary for, of course, the current governor. They tend to like his policies. Conservatives need to jump in ways in which they haven't before. And so I've called and fundraised, and we're now at $25,000 would go to local charities, Idaho-based charities, for a debate between me and the lieutenant governor so that people in the state would have an opportunity to see the different styles of leadership, see the different ideas and the very different visions. So here's how it'll work. If the lieutenant governor accepts the challenge to debate by December 20th, then we'll have time to go and collect those checks that have been pledged to various charities, from homeless services to pro-life, to our law enforcement and our veterans. We'll go around, we'll collect checks and get those donated to those charities. But here's the kicker. The debate needs to happen by January 14th. We don't have time to continue to play games. We need to make this happen now. If you're interested in pledging money to grow the pot and raise the stakes, if you will, and draw some more attention to this really important debate, send us an email at info@edforidaho.com. And we would love to get in touch with you. I'm sure the pot will continue to grow. I mean, in a few hours, we went from $10,000 to $25,000. That's how hungry people are for this right now. And I think it's a wonderful way to celebrate the Christmas season because we're doing it for charity and to give to charity and to improve our communities. That is a beautiful thing to have right now in this Republican primary where things are so divided. The future of Idaho rests in the hands of the rising generation. We have to ask ourselves, should we continue with a one-size-fits-all educational model, which is being plagued by political agendas, or should families have more educational options for their kids? I believe Idaho needs school choice. We should be empowered to choose how our kids get educated. And the governor appoints 7 out of 8 members of the State Board of Education. We need a governor who will champion school choice. It's my hope to see that dream realized for my kids and yours. It's Christmas in Idaho, where faith and family mean more, and we appreciate the things money cannot buy. While most of us celebrate Christmas with friends and family, Idaho's current governor will oversee his state of emergency for the 650th straight day. But in Idaho, we have faith in things that are greater than governments. Merry Christmas from our family to yours. Even in Idaho, we teach students to hate America. Boise State University has a quiz that says white supremacy was tied directly to the Declaration of Independence. Enough is enough. We need new leadership to promote American values. Jefferson, who crafted that secret document, he was 33 years old when he crafted that. And are we going to be the first We're the generation, class of Americans that are going to pass this country off in worse condition than we inherited. We're going every stinking time we cut taxes and shrink government, we all do better. Every time. You will find that we are funding our own destruction. Idaho is going the way of Colorado, and we're falling right into the trap. My candidacy represents a revolutionary zeal that everyday Idahoans are hungry for. And make no mistake, this isn't just about Ed Humphreys. This is about an idea that we should promote the timeless principles that made the United States of America the greatest country on earth. But we gotta fight for it. We have to come together. That is what I have dedicated myself to do. Remember, many of the founding fathers were young. We need to inject that level of energy and enthusiasm into our cause. If we can, then I believe Idaho will lead America. In different ways, but this is what I'll say. And now we're just going to have a candid discussion. Folks, I'm 31 years old. I've never held elective office before, and yet look at what me and my team have built. And I would say that even my opponents respect what we have assembled. And I have had every single day, every reason to fail. I've never had any endorsement coming by me. I've never had a special interest group prop me up. We had to raise the money. I had to craft a compelling message and learn policy and build an organization across the state. We have done that very effectively. I'm incredibly proud of the job we've done. That is called leadership. And there's not a lot of people at 31 years old who have the guts to step into this swamp, in this field, and be steered the way I did. Thank you.
Last year, a Chinese government-backed think tank in Beijing produced a report that assessed all 50 of America's governors on their attitudes towards China. They labeled each of you friendly, hardline, or ambiguous. I'll let you decide where you think you belong. Someone in China already has. Many of you, indeed, in that report are referenced by name. So here's the lesson. Whether you're viewed by the CCP as friendly or hardline, know that it's working you. Know that it's working the team around you. The Chinese government has been methodical in the way it's analyzed our system, our very open system, one that we're deeply proud of. It's assessed our vulnerabilities, and it's decided to exploit our freedoms to gain advantage over us at the federal level, the state level, and the local level. It's happening in your state. In fact, I'd be surprised if most of you in the audience have not been lobbied by the Chinese Communist Party directly. Chinese Communist Party friendship organizations like the one that I referenced earlier are in Richmond, Minneapolis, Portland.
And now Boise, Idaho. We don't need a governor who will befriend the Chinese Communist Party. We need a governor who will fight it. I'm Ed Humphreys, and I'm running for governor of Idaho to do just that. If we want something different, then we have to do something different. My candidacy is not a typical gubernatorial candidacy, but that's exactly what I believe these times call for. This campaign is funded by everyday Idahoans. There's no special interest groups or super PACs or the like that fund this effort. This campaign is run by everyday Idahoans. And at some point, I wanted to see the fire. I wanted to see that work ethic, that get in the ground, get to work, get it done. Go meet with Idahoans, connect with them, hear from them. How about this? Craft a plan. Woo! Now I'm asking for too much. I will tell you this right now. No way in heck am I going to support another career politician. And here's another thing I'll say. I know a lot of us, we love the emergency orders. We're thinking, yeah, we got to get in there. We got to push back against Brad Little. How many times was the lieutenant governor, the acting governor in 2020, when we were at the height of COVID restrictions, when your church was shut down, how many times was she acting governor of this state? What did she do? Nothing. You want to know when she did something? After she announced her candidacy for governor. Isn't that interesting? I'm not playing games anymore. She is a cheap career politician. I'm done playing this. So yes, we do have a Ross Perot in the race, and it's lieutenant governor, and she needs to get out because I'm going to keep running circles around her. She should have shut me down 8 months ago. She should have shut me down. I shouldn't have been able to build a team and fundraise effectively. You know why she's not raising any money? Because everybody's second guessing her, and you guys are too. I see it on your face. I know some people are going to be pissed at me in this room, but we don't have time to play around anymore. There are 89 days left in this primary. I'm sorry. I'm not going to support another career politician and say, well, at least during the election years, you know, they'll be great. Brad Little's great right now, isn't he? Right? He's signing all these, right? How great is Brad Little? All these conservative things and, you know, heartbeat bill. Folks, Brad Little's a conservative again, don't you know? This game is old. I'm tired of it. And so I will tell you, look at my team, and and this isn't about Ed Humphreys. I really want you to know that. This is about a movement. This isn't about me. And for the average Idahoan, particularly a low information voter, I will tell you right now, they do not care about Brad Little. They don't care about Janice McGeehan. They don't care about Ed Humphreys. They want to know, what are you going to do for my family? What are you going to do about these schools? What are you going to do about these roads and my taxes? That's what we care about. And I can go around the state and be a cheerleader and say, oh, President Trump, President Trump. Well, I was a delegate for President Trump. We all love President Trump, and we all hate Joe Biden. And I could have cracked jokes about Joe Biden for the last hour, and we all would have laughed and clapped, and what would we have accomplished? Nothing. Please, compare our plans, compare our positions, but here, more importantly than anything, why will she not debate me, for crying out loud? You're going to tell me that we're going to put up a career politician who's scared to debate the 31-year-old, and we are expecting this career politician is going to take on federal bureaucrats. That is a joke. If she can't shut me up, she's not going to go toe-to-toe with the feds. Let's stop pretending and playing games. So I will stop there. I don't mean to be nasty. I know she's a nice lady. Hey, I got a surprise for you. Brad Little is a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Travel the state. You meet all these people, know his family and are friends with them and blah, 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 blah. Folks, I'm tired of the nice person routine. So I'll chill out a little bit, but there's 89 days left. And it's not going to be me or her to figure this out. It's got to be you.
I had actually seen a couple of videos and interviews with him, but to actually listen to him live and get to meet him and his persona, and he as an individual, the guy is on fire. And that is exactly what we need right now. So Ed Humphreys for governor of Idaho, guys.
I mean, he seems to stand for what we all stand for. I can tell he's got fire, and that he'll probably stand up to whoever's in front of him if they don't believe what he believes. So,
going after the school system to get the kids in school better and straighten that whole mess out. We need to get the young kids believing in America again and gun rights and who they are.
I really like his stance on getting government out of our lives. You know?
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, is this the community, the society you want to be a part of? This is garbage. I will not tolerate it. And I won't back down to it. And I run circles around anti-American activists all day long because that is the only choice left for us at this point. These people are going to destroy our country. They're sowing hate and division, and I reject it entirely. But we're now training up an entire generation that this country was founded upon evil and oppression, and all the institutions, and this whole country's history is characterized and by that evil and oppression. That's outrageous to teach young people that. How do you think somebody treats something when they love something versus when they hate it? Right? There's a vast difference. We should teach kids to love our country. That doesn't mean we ignore our past, but when they love our country, they're going to be wise stewards for it. They're going to take good care of it and want to make it better. And I think I provided you with some examples of what's happening across our country. I honestly believe in my heart of hearts, we have the opportunity right now, right here, to make history. I really believe that through and through. I'm asking you, get involved, jump in with both feet. And it's not just about this election, it's about our communities as a whole. And I commend everyone in this room for participating in the group that you have, because you've linked arms with one another and you've developed relationships that allows you guys to exercise influence in many ways in your community. That is a beautiful thing. We need more people to join groups like that, be a part of it. I hope you'll continue to welcome other people in and the like, but most importantly, I hope that you will mobilize yourself in times such as these with a concrete goal. I'm asking for your support. My solemn promise to you, I will continue to work day and night. I'll put everything I can into this thing. I will not slow down. And everything that I can possibly do, and all the phone calls I can make and speeches I can deliver, it will not be enough. It's going to come down to one thing. What are we going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah.
I got to introduce myself. I'm Ed Humphreys. I'm running for governor. There we go. All right. We're bringing some energy into the room here. There's not many Lincoln days I've been to where the lobbyists have outnumbered the locals, but you guys pulled it off tonight. It's funny because they wear green name tags down at the Capitol, and I noticed they swapped them out. They're wearing another green name tag, but that's okay. And I know people might be a little upset with me for having fun tonight, but in all seriousness, I think we all have to ask ourselves if we want to see a repeat here in Idaho of what happened in Colorado, Georgia, Arizona. Did you see the results come out of Texas? Wasn't favorable, was it? We are playing right into a blueprint that has been executed flawlessly in a number of other reliably Republican states. Let me give you a perfect example of this. I have, right up here with me, I have part of the course catalog from the University of California, Santa Cruz. This is for the Critical Race and Ethnic Studies program. Do you know who the principal faculty for the Critical Race program was? It was Marlene Trump, who we brought here to be the president of the largest university in the state of Idaho. And don't take it from me, take it from Marlene Trump. Here are her professional interests as she's listed them. Social justice, particularly gender, racial, and economic justice, marginal cultures, critical theory. So while we can all rant and rave about how terrible critical race theory is and how we would never tolerate it here, just remember, we brought in a professor of critical race theory to run the largest university in the state of Idaho. If you are sick of it, just as I am, it's time for something new. And my candidacy certainly represents that. Ed Humphreys for governor, thank you all for your time. Come on, let's hear from the lobbyists. I know you love me, come on. Let's hear from the green tag. ideas are only as good as your ability to implement them, right? And when it comes to the budget of the state, I think we have to recognize there are certain things our state government ought to do, the necessary and reasonable services of state government, and there's a whole lot of things we need to get government out of. Let me tell you what government shouldn't do anymore. We shouldn't offer grant money for woke poetry. Can we agree on that? Okay. I think we should no longer promote the services of Planned Parenthood to provide. Your state government, and that would be my one question for the Attorney General, because I've actually produced evidence of how our state agencies are violating state statute and promoting Planned Parenthood and the like. And I would like to see some action on that. To answer your question, we have to not just cut taxes, we have to shrink government. For my friends who studied economics, you understand every stinking time we shrink government and cut taxes, everyone does better. If you believe in the economic policies of President Trump, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, folks, the government will provide better, necessary, and reasonable services if we get it out of all this other garbage stuff and shrink it. And that is what we have to do. But I'll throw some numbers out there because, well, I'm kind of a numbers guy, and I'm sure some of you are too. The income tax in the state government brings in about $2 billion a year. Did you hear what the surplus is? It's about $2 billion. But beyond that, you have to understand, and I'm not talking about the pension. Nobody's going after Percy here. We have a great pension in the state. We don't need to go around messing it up. Separate from the pension, your state government is sitting on over $8 billion in cash and short-term investments. Yes, that, you heard me correctly, and I know there are some people who know their legislators. They say, Ed, what are you talking about? You know, I heard about the general fund and this and that. Folks, the general fund is one of over 360 funds in your state government. Here's something even a number of legislators don't know that concerns me. Do you know we have $2.5 billion a year on auto pay in your state government? Oh, recurring appropriations that once approved, they just go and they go and they go. $2.5 billion a year. So I would say abolish the state income tax. And nobody's touching the rainy day funds. I'm a financial planner, folks. That's my job to tell people about rainy day funds. But the rainy day fund is about $400 million. We don't need $8 billion set aside to just grow government. So we're going to start spending some of that down, and we're also not going to pay grant money for woke poetry. And you know, another one I saw, go to the Boise Art Museum sometime. I really recommend it. It's quite a journey. Last time I went, a few years ago, they had little figurines, like stick figurines made out of cat hair. I'm not exaggerating right now. This is funded in part because of your tax dollars. So this is why I'm saying, if you had a governor who sat down in the Capitol and on day one said, bring me the budget for every agency in this state government and bring in a box of red pens, you would see immediate and drastic change. Thank you. The property tax piece. Because the property tax one is really, really important. And I've worked with many people who are on a fixed income, and I have to tell you, the Biden economy is crushing to those people. You got inflation through the roof, fuel prices through the roof, their IRAs, their 401ks are plummeting, and then they don't know what their next property tax bill is even going to look like. Nobody in this room knows what your next property tax bill is going to look like. It's unpredictable and it's skyrocketing. Let me tell you the principle that my property tax plan is built around. Growth should pay for itself. Growth ought to pay for itself. And here's how we accomplish that. So the current property tax system is just like this. You buy a house and other people choose to move in around you. They put it on your back to help pay for the infrastructure and services for those people who are moving in around you. That makes no sense. This is literally how simple it can be. And because I'm not backed by special interest groups, I'm free to say things like this. When you go to buy a house, you should know what the total property tax bill is going to be on the house for every year for your entire lifetime. You should know. You should be able to budget for that. And I know some people will say abolish the property tax. I will tell you that is a horrible idea. Let me tell you why. If you abolish the property tax, you're going to have bureaucrats in Boise dictate to Kootenai County how much funding your county can have and what projects it can take on. Do not do that. That will be a grave error. So did that answer your question? More so than you probably wanted. Okay. No, great question. Thank you.
I like what he said because he's one of us.
I'm impressed. He's honest. You can see it in his eyes. He's speaking from his heart. He actually cares about the people of the state. And I think having someone that knows about money and business is nothing but a win-win situation for this state. Somebody that can step into that office, look at the documents, look at their budget, and call BS when he sees it, and has the ability to draw a line through it and kick it out the door. That's what I want.
This is why I'm saying if you had a governor who sat down in the Capitol and on day one said, bring me the budget for every agency in this state government and bring in a box of red pens, you would see immediate and drastic change. Thank you. The property tax piece. Because the property tax one is really, really important. And I've worked with many people who are on a fixed income. And I have to tell you, the Biden economy is crushing to those people. You got inflation through the roof, fuel prices through the roof, their IRAs, their 401ks are plummeting, and then they don't know what their next property tax bill is even going to look like. Nobody in this room knows what your next property tax bill is going to look like. It's unpredictable and it's skyrocketing. Let me tell you the principle that my property tax plan is built around. Growth should pay for itself.
Never been to anything political before in my life. Never been interested in politics. This guy absolutely caught my attention, and he had my vote in 5 minutes.
That's impressive.
Yeah, me too. I've voted Republican most of my life, and well, every time. but just listening to his fresh ideas, I think he's a true Republican, not just a Republicrat. Which, you know, he's come from both sides of the party. It's just great to see some fresh ideas and some real energy and devotion in a candidate. So I would support him, and I hope you all do too.
I like what he said because he's one of us. He comes from the other side of the tracks, the other side of the fence, whatever you want to say. He's been on both sides, and I've been in that position before, not in politics, but so I can relate to that. And I appreciate the fact that he's here, that he's willing to stand up to government and shady politics, and that's what we're trying to do here.
The CRT thing, and I just want you to know, you're saying they're blind to it, and I get it for the young people, they are, but this is intentional. There's a reason you teach young people to hate their country. It's so that when they grow up, they'll join evil communist organizations like Antifa or Black Lives Matter, and then they feel emboldened to firebomb buildings and set up autonomous zones and the like. Make no mistake, there's no conspiracy theory here that there are people who want to destroy our nation. And this is why we now have a House divided. These ideas are not compatible with our country. It is incumbent upon us. We have to expunge it. We got to get it out of the system, and we got to do it quickly, because for every one of you that makes the right decision, there's probably 3 or 4 others that don't.
Couldn't get them to debate. Well, the governor will probably have to debate. I can't see him weaseling out of it, and we'll see if the lieutenant governor stays in the race after all the new friends she made. Yeah. And then I think it ought to be is people say, Ed, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Folks, I will tell you right now. Let's have a candid discussion. I will work 16 to 18 hours a day, sometimes 20, 6 days a week. My chief of staff does the exact same thing. Many of the members of my team, totally uncompensated, unpaid, put in immense hours. And all that won't be enough. Won't be enough to overcome the machine and win this election. There's only one thing that's going to change it. It's got to be you.
The next governor of the state of Idaho, Mr. Ed Humphreys.
He's the perfect candidate, honestly. He's one of us. Through and through, he's not a politician. He thinks like we do.
Yeah, well, how do I follow that? I mean,
that was
other
awesome.
than he's well spoken, well educated, which really is what we need. We need somebody that's not afraid to stand up for our rights, because that's exactly what it's about. It's about our rights. I've got grandkids, a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old grandkid, granddaughter and grandson.
Become a big problem. So ESG is so damaging because now these giant corporations are going to be effectively able to torpedo their competition. And what's going to happen is their competition is going to get boxed out. They're not going to have access to capital. And if you don't have access to capital, then you can't grow your corporation, raise your prices, and then nobody wants to use your service or buy your product. And they're effectively able to take out their competition using these measures. It's also really dangerous because what we're becoming comfortable with is this idea of a social credit score. And China is the pioneer of the social credit score.
I was very impressed with him, and I think he has some good ideas, and I'm going his way, I think.
Thank you so much. How about you?
Well, we need to change the state being run by lobbyists to be run by real Americans.
It was way out of control from the beginning, and so I think if we had someone that asked a lot more questions, you would get different results. But again, here there is a principle at work, right? Teach people correct principles and allow them to govern themselves. Here's the kicker. Should experts make decisions for us, or should we make decisions for ourselves? And just so you know, we are still, as we're talking right now, in a state of emergency.
Very scary. So now I'm kind of optimistic for our country. I was kind of terrified after Biden was nominated. So.
Thank you. All right, Jake.
I was quite impressed with how he come across and how much he cares for the state and stuff like that. I just hope that he does a good job when he gets to Washington. I really do, and not forget about us here.
I believe we ought to have a robust selection of educational options, and wherever families choose to put their children, I think their tax dollars ought to follow them to the school of their choice. How powerful would that be? How powerful would it be if you all had the opportunity, or members of your family had the opportunity to homeschool kids that otherwise might not have been able to afford it? Folks, we have to start to make a cultural change, but to do that, we got to know what we stand for. We have to unite and rally around that cause.
If you want something different, then you got to do something different. And I know how I have your attention right now. I'm Ed Humphreys. I'm running for governor because I believe we need bold, young leadership in America today. Never forget, this country was founded by young patriots with a bold vision. Thomas Jefferson was 33 years old when he crafted the Declaration of Independence. It's our time now.
With us tonight is running for governor of our state is Mr. Ed Humphreys. Ed?
This guy's amazing. This is what Idaho needs right now to save our country.
And a campaign is nothing more than getting a message out. That's all this whole effort.
There wasn't one thing that Ed has not said that we are not behind. We are so in agreement with everything that he's trying to do for Idaho.
And I would say that you are looking at the next governor of Idaho. You need to make sure that you get out and vote for this man, Ed Humphreys, for the governor of Idaho, because he will make the difference that none of the other candidates can do.
You're going to discover that this pandemic has turned into the greatest scam in American history. And if you want to bring it to an end, then we need to figure out, of the hundreds of millions of dollars the three largest healthcare systems in this state took, federal, state tax dollars, we need an answer to the question, what did they do with the money? The Idaho Code grants the governor of this state the authority to investigate any corporation in the state of Idaho. If you elect me to be your governor, I will investigate the healthcare systems and prosecute any corruption that we uncover. I'm Ed Humphreys, and I'm running for governor. I'm asking for your vote on May 17th. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. You got the call and you answered it. And that's what it's going to take to turn this country around. We're going to follow the money, and we're going to solve the problems that have been presented by the career politicians across this country. It's going to be time for we, the people, to run this government, to be represented by this government. God bless you guys. God bless the United States of America.
I would like to introduce to you the next governor of the state of Idaho, Mr. Ed Humphreys.
The guy is on fire, and that is exactly what we need right now.
We have to get rid of the incumbents because they are ruining this country. And he is new, fresh blood, and he's got great ideas, and he's going to do what he says he's going to do.
Because he's one of us.
I thought he did a great job. He was straight up and honest, no BS, no mollycoddling, no evading questions. Somebody who is doing this because he loves this country and he loves this state. And that's what I'm looking for, not some career politician that wants to do what he wants to do to better himself.
Every single time he spoke, I was like, okay, yes, we agree on the same thing.
There wasn't one thing that Ed has not said that we are not behind. We are so in agreement with everything that he's trying to do for Idaho.
Ed Humphreys is one of those guys. Now, he is not real well known in Idaho. He is the youngest gubernatorial candidate in the country. I think he's 30, and their primary is May 17th. One thing I found out that made me say, I think I want to talk about this, talk to this guy. He did his thesis on modern monetary theory. So here's a guy who maybe the governor could have called. And probably would have given him a better idea. Ed Humphreys, welcome to the program.
Glenn, thank you for having me on. And probably part of the reason the governor wouldn't call me to get my input is because I'm not a corporate lobbyist. These career politicians, they rely so heavily on these special interest groups to provide them with data that they use to make decisions with. And the governor here in Idaho, my critique of him would be he believes all the data that these lobbyists, that these banking special interest groups provide him. He thinks it's as true as day. And I think we need people in the Capitol asking a lot more questions. But I'll take issue with one thing you said, Glenn. You said not well known. I will remind you, I came into contact with you because of everyday Idahoans that are connected with you. I never got connected with you through a media group or anything else.
No, that's true. No, you in least in my county, there were a lot of people that knew you, and I also I think I was with Chuck Norris, and a friend came up from Idaho and said, "Hey, have you heard about this guy?" And I said, "Yeah." So somebody else was talking to me. So you are making waves, but you're not a politician.
No, and the reason why this race is so interesting, I think you mentioned it, called it perfectly. I mean, I'm the youngest gubernatorial candidate in America today, and think of that, to have a constitutional conservative be the youngest candidate in America making waves. It's a really powerful dichotomy when you consider the fact that we have Joe Biden, who can't make it up a flight of stairs, for crying out loud, let alone even be on a live program without somebody there to protect him from tripping over his own feet. And now we have ruby red states, well, once I'll say ruby red states like Idaho, putting up a new generation to bring this fight forward. And we have to do that, Glenn. I mean, this ESG and this global socialist push coming out of groups like the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab. I mean, I'm waiting for that guy. He's like a super villain from every Indiana Jones flick I've ever seen. I'm waiting for him to don his armband any second now.
Yeah. So tell me why you would be qualified to be the governor of a state like Idaho, which is very diverse. You've got people moving into the capital that are from California, very, very liberal. And then you have people who are farmers, and they don't, you don't have the population when you have, big farms. And those people feel left out about a lot of stuff. How are you going to bridge that, and what makes you different?
Well, I'm a blue-collar guy at heart. I used to drill for oil as a roughneck on drilling rigs. I'm one of the few people you'll meet who never finished the 8th grade. Later in life, went on to get a master's in finance. So I'm a financial advisor by trade. But I would say in politics, if you want the truth, you have to follow the money. And that's what I've done. And when you follow the money, you figure out very quickly what's going on. And when we change the way that we fund government, we will change the government itself. I think it's very powerful to have a finance guy at the top of the ticket, particularly in a state like Idaho, where the governor has immense authority over the budget and the ways in which all the agencies and state government are run. We're going to make changes to the way that we fund government. The biggest thing of all, and this is what's happening in states across this country, and Ron DeSantis understands it better than anybody, we are funding our own destruction. We pay our tax dollars, and then our elected officials, Republican and Democrat alike, Republicans are the worst with this, though. This is how we lost Colorado. They then turn that money over, our tax dollars, to private organizations that promote anti-American causes. And Idaho's doing that. We are rapidly losing our heritage, our identity. This state, I consider it to be one of the last foxholes for the American dream today in this country. We need bold fighters who are going to stand up, who are going to follow the money, get to the bottom of things, reveal it for what it is, and make big changes. And my plan does just that.
So how are you going to bridge, excuse me, how are you going to bridge the gap between people who are fed up with the government, don't really trust the government, and want to throw all the bums out? How are you going to bridge the gap between that and the normal people that say, I'm sick of this as well, but I want to make sure that we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater? There are a lot of good Republicans. I'm sure there's some good Democrats. I only leave them out because I don't know them. But I know there's some good Republicans there that want to fight the system, but not destroy the system. How do you bridge that gap so you've got a coalition of people that can work together?
We have to have a bold vision to rally around, and that's what's been missing for some time. My vision is one that inspires people, and because what we're doing is we're taking power from these subject matter experts, these corporate experts, these government experts that want to make decisions for us in our lives, and we're giving it to people so that they can reach for the heights of their own potential. And school choice is a powerful way where you can disrupt that institution, education, but people can rally around these ideas because they're ready for something new. And it doesn't mean we throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of folks that would like to see something revolutionary in America today, something innovative and unique. And that is what I've set out to do. But more important than anything else, if you want to bring positive change, you have to create a movement. You have to create a mandate. And when you talk about bridging the gap, nothing does that better than connecting with people. So I travel this state, the whole state, once every 3 to 4 weeks, and I'm connecting with everyday Idahoans and building those relationships and hearing what they're dealing with and what keeps them up at night. Those kind of relationships I find more valuable than with, corporate America through their lobbies and the like. So, yeah, I'm not going to get along with everyone, Glenn, because, I'm a disruptor.
So tell me what the vision is. What are the people in Idaho mostly concerned about, and what is your vision?
The biggest thing that's happening in this state right now, we have a system of government, an old idea that has existed in the Republican Party for too long, where the government exists to benefit the politically connected. That's what we got to turn around. I'll give you a perfect example of this, but think of this. This is Idaho. Our Republican governor just cut a $50 million tax deal to give tax breaks to Facebook, so that they would build a facility here, and we're all supposed to clap because it's going to create 100 new jobs. And I imagine they'll find, they'll bring here to Idaho 100, Berkeley educated leftists, which will just make our problems even worse. That kind of thinking is what has to be expunged. And Idahoans, particularly when we're an ag state, we deal with drought. And now we have this server farm. Facebook's bringing in 170 million gallons of water a year. People see that and it bothers them. But more than that, it's a bigger story about what these multinational corporations, how they're exercising their complete domination over our lives, over the government. And that is exactly the fight that I want to bring to the forefront. We need to have an environment that is business friendly to small and medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurs. But when it comes to these multinational corporations that cut deals with, Chinese Communist Party-owned companies in other parts of the world to get their capital and bring those insane policies into America, we got to have governors all across this country that call it for what it is and have a plan to tackle those problems. And so when it comes to these corporations, in Idaho, the governor is empowered to investigate any corporation in the state of Idaho. So since Facebook decided to move a facility here, Glenn, I tell you, we're going to have some fun. We're going to get to the truth. If I were elected governor, I would investigate Facebook for their shadow banning, for defrauding advertisers about impressions and reach and the like. Let's let the truth have its day.
Last question. How's your soul?
How's my soul? Probably the most important question. One of the books that you wrote, Glenn, that I've read and I really enjoyed, was Being George Washington. And one of the things that I've learned is, strength rejoices in the challenge. And this is a time where nothing seems real in the world anymore. Everything's manufactured. It's all engineered. And it's really on my heart to disrupt that. My family, they fled from communism in Eastern Europe and came to this country so they could make decisions for themselves. And I'm watching as America starts to adopt those same ideas that destroyed countless countries across the world. I guess what's on my heart, what I would describe is I want to win that fight. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'm taking on the political machine. And because I come armed with the truth, they try to silence me. Even here in this state, the sitting governor and the sitting lieutenant governor, who are my opponents in this race, they have, for the first time since debates have ever been hosted in the state, for the first time, they have refused to debate me. Think of that. There's not going to be debates in Idaho this year because they don't want to have these tough conversations. That is a dangerous precedent.
Ed Humphreys, you can find his website, edforidaho.com. If he sounds like your guy, you've got to find somebody that you think is going to do the right thing for your family and your state. This is the firewall. If you consider Ed, find out more about him, edforidaho.com. Ed, thank you very much.
There are 24 days left in the governor's race. It cannot come fast enough. It is time to say enough is enough. Ed Humphreys will bring that fiery ruby red flame back to Idaho. We've had enough of state income taxes. We've had enough of the property taxes. And most importantly, we've had enough of career politicians running for their own gain. Ed Humphreys is fiery, bold, and exceptionally competent, but he can't win alone. It is up to us, the people of Idaho, to support this leader in any way we can. Visit edforidaho.com to learn about his platform, then volunteer and donate. Keep Idaho red. Wow, look at this street. They must really like Ed Humphreys. I bet the volunteer who contacted all these people is very proud of their accomplishment. I would imagine there's a lot of streets around that this could be done when our volunteers contact them and give them Ed's message. What opportunities do you have to keep Idaho red?
The career politicians have everything upside down, but if we want something different, we got to do something different. I'm Ed Humphreys, and I'm running for governor of Idaho. Remember, our nation was founded by young patriots with a bold vision. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he crafted the Declaration of Independence. I'm a finance man with a plan to implement school choice, tackle corruption, and cap property taxes.
Not a Republican. My opinion, Brad Little, the governor of Idaho, who's running again, is absolutely a waste of a chair. Do you know who Brad Little is?
Isn't he the governor of Idaho that you just went up to see, right?
Yeah,
and you were going to talk to him about ESG.
Yeah, so I went up and talked to him. This is the kind of politician that we just don't need. In my opinion, Idaho, you do what you do. But I went up and spoke to him, and he said, last night I didn't even know what ESG is. And I said, oh.
That's a good start.
Good start. Yeah. And so I expected him to, be eager to listen and learn. He said, but I called an old banking buddy of mine, and he brought me up to speed, so I got it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, it took me 2 years to research it, but
he had it just in one phone call. That's great.
To a banking buddy.
Yeah, I'll bet he understood how bad it is too from that banking buddy.
Sure. Have got to stand. So after meeting the Republican governor who is running now there in Idaho, I thought maybe we should talk to some other people. The governor who is running for re-election, I don't think he's going to win the primary.
And he's not a favorite of yours.
No.
Is he doesn't?
He just not a Republican, and I thought he was very out of touch when I met him, but that's just me.